So our focus in this video is hormone signal transduction. So we've already done this, but now we're looking at how those receptor binding alters cellular activity, and we might look at some feedback control diagrams as well. So slightly different change of pace there. Okay, now hormones produce their effects by altering the activity of a target cell or tissue. Okay, it's happening in 3 steps: reception, signal transduction, and response. At the reception part, the hormone just quite literally binds to the receptor. The receptor is a protein. It is sitting on the outside, or embedded in the cell membrane, and that is a very specific binding. So remembering that the hormone has one receptor and it has to be very specific. At the signal transduction stage, this is actually where the signal is passed from the receptor protein to other molecules in the cytoplasm or whatever is going on. It's kind of triggering that chain of events. Now, this can be so many different things. So I'm just going to talk about it in general sense, because this could be, a dozen different chemical reactions. The cellular response, again, could be any number of things. And once that is triggered, it can maybe increase or decrease some kind of chemical reaction, or increase the metabolic rate, or just, increase your blood glucose, something like that. So the response, again, could be any number of things. Now, even a really tiny amount of hormone can have that cascade effect, that step-by-step amplification effect on the production of a large amount of secreted product, final product, physiological response, whatever it is. Now, as I mentioned, that signal transduction part, it could be a million different things. And we don't necessarily need to remember all of these ones, but just know that once that hormone has bound to that receptor, things start to happen, okay? The domino effect kicks into gear. So each hormone is going to affect a specific body cell by doing lots of different things. It could change the permeability of the membrane, it could influence enzymes, it could influence cell organelles, it could, activate genes to manipulate certain protein production, whatever it is. Now, cells adjust to their level of response to a hormonal signal by increasing or reducing the number of receptor proteins that are available for that hormone to bind onto in their cell membrane, okay? So it makes them more or less receptive. Now, upregulation here means a cell increases the number of receptors on the outside, right? We're upping the number of receptors on the outside, and that's going to make it more responsive and more sensitive to the hormone that's arriving. It's giving it more opportunity to bind. Downregulation is the exact opposite. It is where essentially the hormone signal goes unanswered because the number of receptors are just decreasing. Now, this is some kind, this is just a sense of what kind of hormones we might be talking about and the cascades that can come from it. So the pink and the blue ones are the common hormones you may or may not have heard of. But really what's going on is, hey, where are these coming from? What are they stimulating? What's the actual change or effect in the cell? And we can talk about things like, what's one you might have heard of? Just growth hormone, right? Different kinds of growth hormones. There are so many kinds. It could be impacting here, it could be being produced here, and really what we're trying to get is growth. If you look at more specific ones like prolactin, which we've spoken about in terms of positive feedback mechanism, prolactin is being produced in the mammary gland, and it is gland development and milk secretion during breastfeeding. So there's a lot of things that are triggering that, which then is going to be produced here and then triggers this. All right, so really simple examples. We've got insulin and glucagon. You eat a meal, right? You eat a meal, your blood sugar rises up, it increases, so your body pays attention and says, hey, we actually need to store that glucose. So in your pancreas, it starts to release insulin, and that insulin encourages the uptake of glucose into your cells. It can be stored later on for glycogen, which is a long-term storage sugar, and really it just decreases the blood sugar because it started to take it into the cells. When you're doing some exercise, for example, and your body needs more of that energy, it can do the opposite. It can say, hey, pancreas, we actually need to release some of that energy. So glucagon is a different hormone that does the exact opposite to insulin. It actually starts to break down that long-term storage sugar, glycogen, and it will put more glucose into your bloodstream, which then increases it. So round and round we go. Another example is thyroxine here, and this one is related to temperature regulation. So in cooler temperatures, the hypothalamus will pay attention, it will stimulate the thyroid gland, and it produces thyroxine to increase your metabolic rate, which is going to make you warm up and start producing some heat. The opposite of that is when it's in warmer temperatures, your hypothalamus, again, it notices, it inhibits thyroxine production so that you can decrease your metabolic rate and essentially cool down. Melatonin plays a really interesting role in the sleep cycle. So the stimulus that kicks it off is actually light availability. So melatonin, pardon me, is produced when light isn't available. So the sun goes down, you start to get sleepy. Now, it actually takes babies about 3 months for it to start being produced in a routine, so they sleep all over the shop and they have no idea about night and day because this process isn't refined yet. Teenagers have delayed melatonin production, which is why you all want to stay up really, really late and then wake up really, really late, and maybe it's a case for us starting school later. Plants also have hormones. Their growth, their development is controlled by hormones, and there are 5 main plant hormones that coordinate plant growth and development. They also produce, a range of hormones that drive, heaps of different outcomes. So it's not just a one-way specific pathway. They can lead to many, many effects like, dropping leaves, dropping ripe fruit, stopping seeds from actually germinating, things like that. So again, we have talked about receptor binding and that 3-stage process and having a look at some actual examples here.